And we are live. Uh,
Woo.
Welcome everybody to Lair Live, season 2. This is episode 9, and we have Fred Leader, a professional cellist who is amazing, by the way. If you guys have not checked him out on his Facebook and his YouTube, please do so. And Fred, I do believe you have prepared to play for us today.
No, I
No,
have no
not at
idea.
all.
I have no idea how to play this thing.
No, not at all.
None at all. How about I just improvise? I'll make something up.
That sounds good.
Yeah, right on the spot. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's ready. There you go.
Yo, that was beautiful. I'm
All
sure
right.
you're going like bebopping with it too. Um, so I have a question. When did your love of the cello first begin?
Oh, geez. Okay. So, um, I'm ancient. I'm old. I'm a child of the '60s, legitimate child of the '60s. So, I um, I was 10 years old in fourth grade, and my parents weren't musical, but they said, "We think you are." So they told me to sign up. There was going to be a seminar at the elementary school where um, the high school kids were coming and playing their various instruments, and the music director for the elementary school and also that high school was presenting it. And then after the symposium, people that wanted to sign up for instrument lessons could. So for once, I actually followed my parents' instructions, and I signed up. And the next week, I met with the instrument director, and I went into the cafeteria, and he was sitting at the piano, and he said, "Well, sing me something." So he said, "Do you know America the Beautiful," or something like that? And I said, "Yeah." And I sang it for him. He said, "Well, you have a good ear. You should play cello." And he said, "Do you remember what a cello is?" And I had no idea. I couldn't remember. I'd never heard of it before. And then I said, "Isn't it some kind of a flute?" and and then he kind of got onto me because I wasn't paying attention. And but anyway, I instantly bonded with the instrument. So I really got lucky with that. I got blessed with that. And so I just started taking at the school. And eventually, after a little bit of time, I got a private teacher. But like I said, like music in the '60s was just exploding all over the place, pop, rock, jazz, everything. And by the time I was about 12 or 13, I was really getting into it. And I went up to my private cello teacher, who was Juilliard trained. And I said, "I really want to learn how to play jazz on cello." And I thought I didn't know there were categories in music with musicians. Like if you just play classical, or you just play jazz, or you just play rock.
Right.
I didn't get that. To me, music was music. And she said, I don't like it and I don't teach it. And that was it. So I started learning by going to the library and borrowing jazz records and blues records. And I would tape them on, and kids, you're not going to understand this terminology.
No, they won't.
I taped them on my dad's reel to reel tape player.
Reel to reels are something that are very extra special that I wish people used more in the current times, actually.
And I started trying to figure out how to play like John Coltrane and Charlie Parker and Louis Armstrong and these. And I was just, when I heard jazz, it was like going into a different world for me. And that's how I started learning, by listening to music. And I would try to play the solos that they were playing. And when I got older, well, another thing, I used to go to, there was a jazz piano player that lived about a mile away from me. And I used to do yard work for him in exchange for free lessons. And so I wasn't taking piano. I would bring my cello, and he would like show me what he was doing, and I'd try to figure out how to do it on cello. I went to a tenor sax player to learn how to, a little more from him. When I got older, I would go to, I live in Maryland near DC, and I would go to jazz jams downtown. And of course, I was the only, white cello player down there, and but I would do all these things to try to learn how to play. And it started by listening to, rock music and pop music. I mean, when I talk pop, I'm talking about mid 60s. I'm in elementary school and I'm listening to the Monkees and, that kind of
I
stuff.
love the Monkees.
Well, with good reason. They had,
They had like that kind of like that Beatles bad boy quality to them.
well, it wasn't just that. It's quite an interesting story. I mean, they had the best LA studio musicians playing on their stuff who called themselves the Wrecking Crew. And that included people like Leon Russell, Blake
Hmm.
Campbell, that kind of stuff. And they had the best songwriters doing their stuff for them. Neil Diamond, Carole King, Boyce and Hart. So um, the interesting thing about the monkey story, and I know I'm going far afield here
Oh,
for a
you're
second.
fine. You're fine because I also find their story very interesting as well. And it's a band I feel that people don't talk about enough either. So,
Yeah. But the interesting thing about this is all the bands were using these players: Buffalo Springfield, the Byrds, the Beach Boys. And it wasn't just them, it was Sinatra, it was everybody was using these same players. But the Monkees got outed. And it was weird because initially it was just going to be a TV show.
yeah,
But people started believing this was a real band.
right. They didn't realize that it was just for
I
TV. They thought it
the
was an
bird,
actual.
right? I imagine the Birds and Buffalo Springfield and Beach Boys were probably getting nervous when the Monkees were getting outed, but they never got really outed until years and years and years later. But um, yeah, that's that. And here's the neat thing about the Monkees. To the Monkees' credit, they wanted to start actually learning how to play. Now, some of them,
Yes.
like Mike Nesmith and Peter Tork, did already know how to play some, but
Yes.
not like these great LA studio musicians. But they wanted to become a legitimate band. So they started as a TV show and then
They just
started
expanded and
from,
spiraled from there.
so it's kind of a neat story.
It really is.
But yeah, so that was like one of the first big influences. And then, I got older, and probably my biggest early influence with rock was Cream.
Oh yeah.
And I was a big Cream fan. Not only that, but Jack Bruce, the bass player, a lot of people don't know this, was initially a cello player. And he played cello some on Wheels of Fire on a couple tracks.
And also, I think that what has helped accelerate his guitar playing skills that he has.
Yeah. Um, and then and man, and then like Jimi Hendrix, that changed my life. If
Oh,
I
Jimi Hendrix! Shout out to him.
Yeah,
Oof.
if I had a Mount Rushmore of four musicians, it would be Jimi Hendrix, Joni Mitchell, John Coltrane, and Bach. So it's kind of diverse, but from listening to Cream and Hendrix, I would have some friends, older friends that would they say, well, you need to listen to where they're getting their stuff from. So then I'm listening to Elmer James and Muddy Waters, and the whole time I'm playing cello. I'm not trying to put this on guitar or anything. I'm like when I'm doing hearing Elmer James, I'm like, it's like I'm putting it on my cello. So
Yes, but a lot of people are kind of have that fear on if they take a different instrument and use it in music. It's instead of using a guitar with you with the cello. A lot of people are scared of that, but I can tell you, it gives the tracks a much more rich, thick, full sound when you use things like cellos versus just straight up guitars.
right. And that's actually a part of the story I forgot to say. Like when I was in middle school, um, my friends all had guitars and basses and drums, and I would go to jam sessions. My parents bought me a pickup, an early pickup to put on my cello so I could plug in. And I would go jam with them. But so I didn't really know what I was doing. It's like they'd be playing a song, and I would just find a note or notes that blended with what they were doing. And that's another way I started learning how to improvise by, not playing with music and sheet music in front of me. And that is one of the big drawbacks to traditional classical training, which I have also done, is I was a cello performance major at University of Maryland. And um, the the drawback to traditional classical training is a lot of classical players who can just play their butts off cannot play one note unless it's written on the page in front of them. They don't know how to improvise. They don't know how to make things up. And it's awful because if you think about it, like even art, like let's say you're not even an artist, but there's a pad of paper in front of you and a pencil, and you draw a line, and then you draw another line that maybe connects with it, and pretty soon you're drawing more lines and shapes, and you have like an abstract picture. So people know how to do this visually, where you just you start. So with music, you start with a note. You start with a, and then a couple more notes, and but you know classical people don't know how to do that.
It's in their the way they were trained, but also
They
too, I
don't.
had somebody once use this analogy on me for that, like kind of like not every singer writes their own lyrics because sometimes you're just a vocalist, sometimes you're just a writer, sometimes you have the ability to do both. Or sometimes you're like, I think who's it, Little Wayne, that does not write down. He just listens to the track, listens to the track, and then all his stuff literally is freestyle. There, somebody goes behind and writes
Right.
things now because I seen him doing a performance. I forgot what of the late night shows it was, but literally where somebody was nice enough went through and wrote down his lyrics so he could go through and practice them before. So it may just be how people are wired.
Right. Well, I'm a songwriter as well. I have like 3 CDs out.
Oh, I know your love is like the ocean. That song, I literally hear the words, and oftentimes when I'm listening to it, the words do actually come out in it. There are words to that.
Yes. Well, that's
100.
so I so I will hear a melody in my head, and um, a lot of times there's a phrase that goes with it, like "Your love is like the ocean." Well, that's all I get. The whole rest, it kicks off the song, and the whole rest of the melody starts filtering into my little drug-addled brain. Don't do drugs, kids. Um,
Yeah, no, we can't condone that, y'all. But if you're in
no,
legalization
I'm not.
territory for medical like that, and you have chronic pain, go seek out your pain management professionals for that, y'all.
No, I'm actually clean and sober. I don't do anything. The only thing I do is caffeine. But no, I was like I said, I was a child of the '60s. I was 12 years old and dropping acid for the first time. So,
That was a special time, and people that were born in the 60s and 70s, I could tell you we are special breeds.
yeah. So um, oh shoot, I forgot what we were talking about now. Uh,
Oh, the thing with most cellists when they're classically trained, they only play like the
right,
classical training. They don't do improvisation and things like that.
right. Yeah, I was talking about that.
You're fine. I got you.
Oh, songwriting. So that's what I was saying. I I hear a melody, and it usually has a sentence or a half sentence that kicks it off. And I have tried to write lyrics. I have 3 notebooks full of really bad, clumsy lyrics. And I kept trying to do it. And then at one point, it's like, why am I even doing this? Why don't I just let the cello sing it? So that's what my stuff is. It's instrumental songs. So a lot of it may sound like something like Van Morrison might sing, or something like that, but there's no lyrics to it. The cello is the thing doing the melody, and that's just how I do it. And I kind of like it because then people can kind of determine for themselves what the song is about to them.
I can tell you I have a special connection with that song because of my love for like all things sea, the ocean, and my husband's a Navy vet. Well, I with my chronic pain, I can't tread water and swim, and I've never been to the ocean. But when we moved to South Carolina 5 years ago, he took me into the ocean for the first time, and I can tell you, no matter how long a man is out of the Navy, they can still tread water like just like they was back in the day.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I have a special connection with that because of that experience. But too, later, if you would like, I could send you a text or an email with the words that I hear that come out of it.
yeah, that'd be great.
So that way, if you ever want to put some lyrics to it,
No, that'd be wonderful.
because
Yeah,
that's,
I
I just,
love the water. I feel a very uh, this is my take on water. This is just my take on it. But so it's of all the things that we see around us in the world and the universe. To me, this is on Earth. This is the closest connection to eternity that we have, because everything else that you see, like trees, leaves, humans, dogs, grass, whatever, they have a short life. But that water, it's the same water that's been here since whatever the beginning was.
yes.
So it comes down as rain, and it falls on the earth, and maybe it eventually ends up in in a stream, going into a river in the ocean, but eventually it goes right back up to the sky and comes back down again. I mean, that would be something to track, is the history of one drop of water, you know. But that's what I think of with water in the ocean and stuff, is like that stuff has been there a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty dope though that you view it like that, because I kind of have the same way like that. It's like the ocean is kind of like people's relationships and love, because the ocean's forever, people's love's forever. Because even when you're married, after your spouse is gone, if something happens to them, hopefully nothing does. But if it does, it's like your love for them, it don't ever stop. It just keeps going like the ocean does.
Right, right.
Yeah, it just like life does too.
I should get. Hold on, some. Let me see. I'm looking for that song. If I have it in around me in sheet music, I think I do. I think I do. Uh, looking. Oh my.
I
My
was
book.
gonna say, there's so many people out there that's gonna comment on your hat, on how cool your hat is.
Oh, my hat.
Yes, yes, hats and people that wear hats, just like they're memorable, especially if they have a really cool hat on and things like that. Hats really are a thing. People don't realize that either, but you know.
Right. Well, I'm not. Oh, wait a minute. Ah, damn. Maybe. Nope. One more place. Give me a second.
Okay.
You can fill time here as I.
So, if anybody is looking for a cause that they can support, there's this really cool um, program up in Brockport, New York called Campability, started by Dr. Lieberman. And what they are is a summer camp that is full of physical activities like kayaking, all kinds of sports and things like that, from beat baseball to tandem bike riding and things like that. They have their annual summer camp coming up on in June, and that what's really cool about them is they are a summer camp for people that are differently abled children who have visual deficits. You're blind, visually impaired, hearing impaired, like that. And this is where these kids actually excel at sports. And I was a victim of my school holding me back because they considered me a liability. They also did my son. And my son, who was legally blind at the age of 6, by the time he got to 11th grade, he got sick of his high school only making him walk the track. And no matter how much of this documentation and things that Dr. Lieberman sends when the kids leave the camp on their actual abilities to complete sports safely, the school still view them as a liability, and they should really not. But because of that, my son actually is a high school dropout because his gym, and he had excellent track skills and things like that, and they only let him walk the track. They didn't let him participate. And sometimes that can be very on the mental health, which is not cool. So schools, please get it together. If these kids do come back with packets from Brockport Campabilities, which is worldwide, these kids travel near and far to go to this. So schools, please pay attention to these packets and quit throttling these kids back.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's bad.
It is really bad, because my daughter has she's visually impaired, but it's not to the severity of mine and my son's. And her school actually allowed her to play in gym class, but these kids, I'm telling you, phenomenal athletes, and some of them actually end up with a chance to join the Paralympics, the actual Olympics, the division for the differently able. So these schools, I feel, are holding the kids back. They held me back too
Well,
on that.
I was a high school dropout, but for different reasons.
I graduated fully. I fought every step of the way.
Yeah, well, I just didn't go.
Well, sometimes you'll have that because sometimes too I noticed at school for certain even certain friends of mine that operated on a different brain power level, it like sitting there in school and stuff like that could be very daunting because their brain is like 5 steps ahead of what the teacher is. So I do get that. But also are college graduates, so
Ah, oh, I'm having such trouble. I'm having things all
you're
across.
listen. It's okay. We all about technical difficulties around here because my whole first season was nothing but technical difficulties.
Okay. Well, I found the song. Now I got to get it back in here. Um, Here it is. So, but before I play that, I wanted to play an original that it's really easy to play on cello, and it's one that I call. And you may have this. This is an album I did with my buddy Pete Fields that died of cancer.
I I do, and that album is phenomenal.
Thank you. But this one is called the GB's Flat, and it has nothing to do with the Bee Gees.
Nope, not at
So
all.
all of that because the first chord is a G chord,
Yes.
and the second chord is a B flat chord. It's got more chords than that, but that's that just kind of exemplifies how bad I am at naming songs. uh, I have one song on that album that looks like a phone number. It's 313-4323. And I called it that because that's the fingering pattern that I use in the first phrase of the song.
Oh, okay. So now, see, that makes that more interesting. Now I know why.
Yeah,
Like that is cool, though. You have some of the most coolest names for your songs.
it goes 313-4323. And that's why I called it that. But this is let me play a little of the GB's flat. So here's the melody. Oh, and by the way, this is a melody that came just because I call it a cello noodle. So I would just like get on my cello and start noodling around. And this is something that I started doing consistently, this noodle. It's like, oh, well, maybe, I can make a song out of it. And it's only a eight measure song, very short song, but you improvise on it. And then Peter Fields like kind of egged me on to try to do a 2 measure song. See, yeah. Anyway, which I never got, but here we go. Now that's the melody, and I'm going to improvise. Now I'll just go back to the melody. So
Yo, that was so cool. Like I could picture somebody actually dancing at their wedding to that.
We,
Like seriously, hearing it live is is so different than on CD, especially when as far as classical instruments are concerned. For me, I love them on CD, but live is always just so much better. More like it's just bigger. I don't know how to explain to it. It's just a
I,
whole.
this is my carbon fiber cello, and I have a pickup on it, and I'm putting it through a Bose speaker to give it a little more presence, and I have a little reverb on it because I didn't know I wanted it to come out in the
Oh,
podcast.
trust me, it's coming out real clear like that. Like it sounds like we're sitting in an auditorium somewhere, like with the Bose and wherever you got the speaker sitting. It's like you know the acoustical value of your room.
Yeah, just right next to me. So this is the song you were talking about. This is Your Love Is Like the Ocean. I don't know how it's going to come out on solo cello. We'll see. I'll try to add a few things to it. And again, this song, the only thing I had first was oh, wait a minute. Oh, let me back up. This song, okay, now I remember. I had this lick that came in my head first, and it was kind of like the chorus or the outro. Um, and I hate it when that happens. So you get the chorus. It's kind of like building a house, and you start with the roof. And it's really good when you have a song and you start with like you have an idea for a verse, and then the rest of it comes. But this one, I had this lick in my head. It goes. So that was like a chorus. And it's like, it just sat in my brain for months. And then one day, the this lyric came in my head, Your love is like the ocean. And then it's like, it all just fell together. Then I was able to use that chorus. So it goes like, I don't think I've ever played this on solo cello, but here it goes.
Sorry, that was beautiful, but I just started watering. I
Uh,
can't help that.
uh, I kind of truncated it some, and I added some chords to it, but I didn't do the whole thing.
But still, it doesn't take anything away from it either. So I just got to tell you.
But yeah, that's I hadn't thought about it in a while, but that's what came first. That so I
Now,
don't know
see,
what.
when you come in and start on that one, that hits me right here. Like it just boom. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, it's the. I wish I was. And it's like when you write something as a musician, you compose something, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm a composer. And then as a classical musician, I play like some Bach. It's like, oh my God, I'm such a hack.
Well, not really. It's not fair to compare the greatness of Fred to the greatness of Bach
Yeah,
because two totally different times.
yeah, well, Bach, but you see, as a cello player, I mean, you play these Bach cello suites, and it's like they're just, you know. They're just magic.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna tell you, just like Bach was a great in his own time and his the way he does things. So are you.
Oh,
Um,
I'll
trust me, trust
I'll
me.
try.
Give
I'll
it some
try.
time. Give it some time, because trust me, I got a feeling one day you're gonna hit me back like Shadow. You were right.
Yeah, okay then.
But also too, I'm a fan of Bach, Chopin, Mozart, all of them too as well. So that's what
You
I'm
know,
saying. And I
that
always get told not to compare myself to somebody else.
yeah, no, I hear you. And it's a different time, but yeah, it's like that's actually to me one of the cool things that happened to me is the being getting a traditional classical training, having like a Juilliard trained
Yes.
cello teacher that, I had Saturday morning lessons with her, and it's like, oh my God, she I shouldn't talk about this because now I'm going to start to cry. But so she, years and years ago, started a summer chamber music uh, camp clinic for adult cello students in Gettysburg,
Oh, that's awesome.
like Gettysburg College. Um, and one of her students, a friend of mine, actually still runs that thing. But what happened is she was coming back from that on, you may know this road, on US 15. So
I've heard a lot of stories about that road.
yeah, well, US 15 is like a US road that it kind of mirrors Interstate 81.
Yep.
And she was coming back home, and a drunk driver crossed the highway and killed her. And the thing was, and this is a regret, I'm mentioning this maybe, if other people have this. I didn't go to the funeral because I was having a hard time dealing with it. She was like such a influence on me
Mm-hmm.
and very supportive of me. I think she kind of knew I had like that crazy music gene going on in me. And I'm a cello teacher. So it's like I can kind of tell when somebody has got that thing. And it doesn't have to do as much with talent as like there's this inner thing that, oh, yeah, they're going to become a musician. So I'll warn the parents. I say, you better watch out. Your kid's probably going to become a musician. But
Right.
I didn't go to the funeral. I was having just such a hard time dealing with it, and I regret that all the time. Like I still live very close to where I was brought up in suburban Maryland, outside of DC. And whenever I drive by our house, I just start crying. Yeah,
Well, it's to be expected. Somebody that you hold in a special place in your life and in your heart, and
yeah.
obviously you
What I'm
held.
saying is, I wish I'd gone to the funeral and
Yeah,
paid my respects. And so I never want to do that again. I never want to like not do that. Pay my respects to someone that I care about just because I'm having a hard time dealing with it.
that's right, y'all. You hear him? Listen, if you got that funeral that you afraid that you're going to crumble, become a pile of mush, a mess, and I can attest to this because this was me at my mom's funeral 6 years ago. I literally am really strong, but however, just seeing my mom lay there, I broke.
Right.
And a lot of people can't deal with that or seeing people doing that, but I'm going to tell you, that is your time. Do you need literally? Please don't ever not go to a funeral, people, if you can help it. If there's like, I can get extenuating circumstances and stuff why you would not be able to make it, but seriously, I highly suggest that if you can make it to a funeral, do so. Also, in school, I was a part of SAD, Students Against Drunk Driving, and I happen to be a wife against drunk driving now and things like that. And it is not okay for you to sit there and just keep doing it. Because listen, that family of five, or just like his teacher and person that he holds dear that he lost, okay, and a great woman, okay, she did not personally put a gun to anybody's head. Make them take that drink after drink and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to drive. Also, too, bartenders, keep an eye out because you should know when somebody's had too much, when to intervene. Because, like I said, your choices, it does not mean that you have the right, just because you wanted to drink, to have the choice to take that family's life away from them. That is wrong. So please get your act together officially. Shadow Blaze is done with the drinking and driving, y'all.
There you go. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic, so I can attest.
My husband is too, so this is why I am speaking on this. Also, my stepfather was too, and there was a lot of hairy times of driving, especially if you know anything about upstate New York, going from Rome up to Watertown, and you happen to cut through Boonville and the Boonville Gorge. It has some very sharp curves and like 100-foot cliffs that you could easily go off the road and just be gone, and people wouldn't notice you for like a week later. I mean, so.
Well, what happened to me is it's December 9th, 2013. I got my second DWI. It happened just about 4 blocks from my house. And that was the thing that did it, where I had to get like honest. And I was up to, well, around here, I don't know what they call them other places, but around here, the nickname is a handle of bourbon. That's the big bottle that's almost.
Yeah.
I was doing one of those, almost one of those a day.
Wow, how did you like deal with that much a day?
Was that I had a high tolerance, and I wasn't getting drunk as much as just maintaining.
Right.
So when I told my wife how much I was, when I how much I was drinking, she couldn't believe it. You know, because alcoholics are very, very good at disguising that stuff.
They are, I could tell you, but also too something that I learned medically, as it does not matter how much anybody, y'all listen to this because this is some advice that people need. It does not matter how much of wash, whatever you use. Here's the thing: everything with alcohol, you drink it when it goes in your lungs. How you get caught? It could have been 2 hours since you last drank. You still pop it for a DWI 2 hours later. You know why? It gets. Where'd he go? Oh, hold on. It actually gets put through your lungs, and it's the reverb of your body filtering out the alcohol. One of the ways that it's actually done is through the lungs. So when people say, even if you just brush your teeth and we still smell the alcohol, it's not inside your mouth. It's because it's coming out of your lungs.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
Now it's like, a lot of people my age like do medical marijuana and edibles and stuff. I don't do anything, and I enjoy being sober way more than
Right, and I'm not saying there's nothing
like
wrong with having the occasional adult beverage at dinner or something for people that can actually handle that. Because some people just like, with your experience in alcoholism, if you were trying to cut back and things like that, out to dinner, would you just not join a drink, have a drink, or would you be able to have one drink and just
no,
stop?
I have no interest in it, and I don't want to. The
That's
worst
cool.
that an alcoholic can do is have a drink and then say, "Hey, that wasn't so bad. I can do this now."
Right.
But I, I just through God's grace, I don't have any desire to drink or get high. Like I said, I really enjoy how I feel now. I,
Okay. Listen,
I don't
this
any
is cool that you can do that like that
I
because most people can't.
I actually don't even take any pharmaceutical drugs. I don't do that either. But so I do a lot of vitamins and things like that. But that has nothing to do with alcoholism. That's just because I'm a weird hippie.
But
But
hey, you gotta
um,
keep yourself healthy.
right. To me, that's my health plan is to eat healthy and exercise and
Hmm.
do. But I didn't know we were going to get into all this. But yeah, yeah, I know an alcoholic that's been sober for over 30 years. He's a lawyer, and like if he's at a baseball game and he has to pass somebody a beer, he starts shaking. So
Yeah.
with me, I'm not like that. I go to the liquor store. Like if we have company, I make sure we have booze in the house, wine, beer. It doesn't bother me. As long as I don't put it into me, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind if that's another thing. It's not the substance itself that's wrong or evil. That's like in the Bible. A lot of people misquote this. They say money is the root of all evil. That's not what it says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. And I don't want to get all religious, but
You're fine. We talk about everything around here, and I'm not afraid of uncomfortable topics either.
with alcohol, there's nothing wrong with alcohol. I mean, I buy it. I have it in the house. I
Just
just
personally, it's not for
it's
you.
not something that I want to do anymore.
Well, listen, I gotta say, how long have you been away from alcohol?
Uh, Over 10 years.
Well, congratulations on your sobriety and maintaining because you are doing very well with that. In fact, because there's some alcoholics that I know that can't even be around other people that have a drink because it'll make them drink.
Everybody's different. I mean,
They are.
I know alcoholics like that. I also know alcoholics that are bartenders.
Yes.
Everybody's different. There's no like one way to do it.
No, there's really not. It's a individual, unique to the individual person.
Right.
Seriously.
That's right. So
But congratulations, though, on that maintaining. Though I'm really proud of you for that. That's cool.
thank you, babe. All right. So what do we do now? I think we've covered everything.
So, what are the basic fundamentals of a first-time cello student? What would they need to know? What would you go over in that first lesson?
I think the first thing is to pay me like thousands of dollars. That
Oh,
would
well,
be
yeah, because you're well worth it.
yeah. Uh, uh, that the thing is for a first time student, whether they are a kid or an adult, and I have a lot of adult students, is to get a good teacher. Get a teacher that you bond with. And with any uh, community, like I happen to live in the DC area, I mean, there's no shortage of professional musicians around here.
Hmm.
So, I mean, maybe if you live in rural South Carolina, maybe it might be a little harder, but you can always do it through the school system. And most school systems have like a list of qualified teachers, and you can also call a music store and like they. But that's the main thing. Cello is not something I think that you want to try to learn on your own.
No, I wouldn't recommend it. I watched my son learn, and I can tell you, you need somebody that knows what they're doing.
Oh no, I wait a minute. I hit something and I was starting to get some radio coming through my Bose speaker.
Oh, well, it happens. I literally thought it was a car outside my house. Seriously.
So no, I kicked my preamp with my foot.
Oh
And
well, things happen. It really does.
but yeah, with cello, there's so much. There's no frets, there's no keys. Um, you have to really just be patient. Um, the
Hi,
fam-
Happy.
the famous cellist who was a huge inspiration to me, Pablo Casals.
Hmm.
Um, he was like in his day, he was like the Yo-Yo Ma of his day, to put it,
Hmm.
you know. But he had this quote that said he had to find E, the note E, every morning, and what he was referring to was this first finger, like this is the D string,
Hmm.
and then a whole step above the D string is the note E. So he was saying he had every morning he had to reacquaint himself with that note. And the other thing about playing cello or any instrument is to be relaxed. You, in your mind, most tension starts in our mind, but to have your fingers relaxed. I have an
Hmm.
autistic adult student that I've been teaching for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. And his brain is always real tight. It's part of his autism. But I'll tell him to pretend like he's petting a kitten with his when he plays. So you don't want to be tense in your fingers. You want because that comes out in the music. It comes out in the tone. So you want it's it's probably a lot like yoga or something like that, even though I don't know about yoga, but
You gotta not just have your mind relaxed, but you gotta make sure that your body's relaxed.
your body is relaxed because then how do I say this? The energy, the muscle energy, like to play cello starts at the base of your back, the base of your
Yes.
it flows up your back, through your shoulders, through your arms, through your fingers. That's the flow. But if your fingers are tight, what you're doing is you're putting a kink in the hose.
And you're restricting your playing movement and also the sound output.
Right. That's right. So that's one of the main things is to be relaxed. So when I'm playing a note, like I'm on my third finger now, this is in cello, that's called the third finger. If you're playing piano, this would be called the fourth finger.
Yes, but in cello, it's the third one.
But in cello, your index finger is one.
Yes.
One, two, three, four. And so if I'm on my third finger, what I'm doing is no matter where I am on the cello, I want to feel the relaxation. I want to feel the vibration of the note through the finger. And I want to feel the string on the fingertip.
Yes, because actually, in comparison, I can use guitars for this because there's several where I've witnessed either whether it's listening on a track or live when some guitarists get going in their crazy riff like that, and you could tell when they're struggling to get the rest of the riff out because it shows. Because the sound is different. It doesn't sound as equally and flawless as what they had just previously played. What you're actually hearing is kind of like their muscles and things trying to cramp up on them
Mm-hmm.
because they weren't fully relaxed like that.
It happens with all of us, but yeah, that's to me the key to playing cello is to learn Well, to learn the optimum way to use your body when you play. Where another place people get tense when they play cello is with their bow arm, their right arm.
Yes,
Everything is reversed in this image, but with their right arm, they get really tense.
because they
Uh,
think they have to keep it locked up like this, but in all actuality, you don't.
right. So what you're doing is you're letting the string, like if my finger is the string, I'm letting the string hold the bow up. So if I
Mm-hmm.
string away, there goes my bow. So it's you let the string hold it up. You just gently push down. So you don't hold the bow.
Nope.
Just kind of nestle the bow in your hand. Yeah,
Yes, because if you grip it tight, like, hold on, let me get in the view. Because if you grip it like this, you're not going to have the full that you need to get, because all of this up here is too tense and too tight. Because you see how when I do that, people do not grip your bows like that. Don't. Because you see
no,
all that tenseness and stuff, it's not worth it. Because then you can get risky muscle strain, this, that, and the other. It's not fun.
no, no. But yeah, that's the main thing, and that's what I did for years. I played tennis, and I think part of it is I've been playing a long time, and plus when you get older, it's like I think it's like yeah, I don't think I want to do that shit anymore.
I totally get it. Also, would a good posture sitting position also help?
Yeah.
Like instead of being like relaxed, but have a relaxed, full, open shoulder posture, because like you said, the muscles going up from starting in your lower back down by your waist and stuff, which tells into your lower lumbar and hip region. So you've got those muscles going on, and then you get up into your thoracic lumbar region, and then all the way up into your cervical region. So when you guys play cello, people don't realize musical instruments are very physical. It's just like if they were an athlete, because of all the different muscle groups, and then the hours that you guys spend practicing and perfecting it.
Do
You know,
you play cello?
no, I don't. I just say I sat
The
back
way
and I'm a huge fan of music.
Yeah, the way you're talking about it sounds like you're familiar with it.
Well, just be from my son learning in school. Also, my husband's a nurse, and then with my experience with my doctors through the chronic pain and stuff with that has to do with the spine and different muscles, is how I've gained all this knowledge. But also, too, if people pay attention at the end of any kind of orchestra set, any jazz, any string set up, okay, anything that's all instrumentals. Why do you think everybody's like after they're done? Because it's so physical. That's why everybody be sweating and looking like they met. They're not. It's just it's like sprinting the mile in 30 seconds. Is the way I can equate it with, for people that would not understand, because they think, oh, playing this and playing that, no big deal. They don't understand the physicality that actually
Yeah,
goes into it.
right,
So
right.
that, and you know what I'm saying?
Oh, but it's also like that goes back to the relaxation. Like think about if you were running or playing sports or basketball or something, you don't want to be tight. If you're running, the way to run is to be really fluid and loose. That doesn't mean
Yes.
you get tired afterward, but yeah, that's how you play cello. That's how you play any instrument, is to be very relaxed and loose and focused.
Yeah, because I even back in high school when I was part of the marching band, what I was is on the auxiliary squad. I carried the American flag. Was my job.
Whoa.
So yeah, that on and off the field, first person on the field, first person off the field. Game couldn't start without me. So my having to be on time like that but also I took great honor in that position that I held, being the family's military service goes way back past my great grandparents and stuff like that. But I was actually proud to do that. But during that time, before any performance and stuff like that, or even before they got together for band practice, I would see certain friends actually stretching like they were stretching for sports.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
It's because don't you hold it like, then you have kind of a holder on your waist, and the pole is there.
yes, but it's still very physical though, because that
Oh, like
uh,
the wind could take the flag.
yes, and that flag can't touch certain things. It can't touch the ground. It can't touch anything, and it's quite the large size flag.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right.
So I have a question. When
Yeah.
in town to come see you play, if you're playing out somewhere, is there a restaurant or eatery or coffee shop that you can recommend that people need to
Oh,
try?
I wish. Okay, so what? I am not. Okay, what I'm mainly doing right now, and I'm is doing subcontracting bookings for like 4 different talent agencies in the Washington D.C. area. Now, isn't a job I sought out. It's like there was a talent agency that contacted me to handle all of their string work.
Oh, nice.
So now so all my gigs now are these huge weddings and corporate. I just played a corporate event um, last night with a string quartet at the Omni Shoreham downtown, and I'm I have 3 weddings out on Saturday. I'm responsible for, so I'm doing a lot of that. Now, when Pete was alive, yes, we were playing a lot of gigs. And what happened is, so Peter Fields, and for those watching, if you go to YouTube, just search for Fred Leader Peter Fields, and you can find a lot of our stuff. And it's also streaming. But Peter and I were both born in June of 1956, 12 days apart.
That is something
And
awesome.
we had all this almost similar, almost identical musical upbringing with classical and rock and jazz and blues. And so we were listening to the same stuff. And we were both classically trained jazz players playing classical instruments. I played cello, he played nylon string guitar. We both composed and played on each other's songs. So, and we were very, very tight musically. I've never had anything like that before. It was like it was it was like a marriage, musical marriage. And um,
Kind of like you guys were meant to be
like
twins in the same
we,
family, though.
we were playing like, excuse me, I didn't hear you.
I say it's kind of like you guys were supposed to be twins in the same family,
Yeah,
seriously, because the way I hear you talk about him, and then when I go listen to what you guys did together and things like that, and read up on you guys, like it's like you guys were supposed to be in the same household.
yeah, something like that. And so we were playing out. We were playing bars, restaurants. And another thing we were doing really was taking off was house concerts. House concerts were great. So a house concert is like somebody has a large house or whatever, and they invite, there's maybe 60 people that can come or something like that. And the cool thing about that is they will charge like $20, $30 a person to come in. The neat thing about a house concert is 100% of that stuff goes to the musician because they always have like, beer and wine and booze there, food. It's against the liquor licenses to make money off that.
Yes,
So, 100% of it goes to the musicians. So we would do these house concerts and really get a good payday.
it cuts out a lot of the red tape the venue red tape like that, though.
Is it what?
It cuts a lot of the red tape with the venues doing it
Mm-hmm.
that way.
And so we were doing that as well. But sadly, he passed from cancer, and it was very, very aggressive cancer. We did a gig together 2 weeks before he passed. We have we had enough songs to do about 6 more CDs, easy. But COVID happened,
Yep.
and we couldn't get in a studio. And then we finally, after COVID, we had a studio date set up for June 3rd, 2021. But he was fading fast and he died a few days later. And so we never got uh, even a second CD out. So
I'm sorry about your loss.
yeah, oh, thank you. But since then, even though I've tried, I haven't really found a band or another individual to like that to play with, and I've looked. So if anybody out there is interested, contact me.
Yes, if anybody wants to work with Fred, please hit him up because you're gonna love working with him.
So, but that's what happened. It's like, and so I'm not playing venues right now. I'm doing all this
Private shows.
high end subcontracting, weddings, parties, events. You know, I mean, in the DC area, I mean, I play at like Library of Congress. I played
Oh,
vice.
I,
I've played for vice presidents, secretaries of state. You know, I'll
mm-hmm.
times I'm playing a wedding and maybe it's a big wedding outside, and I look to the left of me, I look to the right of me, and I realize there's Secret Service there because they're standing, either it's standing kind of still, and they're at equal intervals all around the venue. It's like, oh my God, somebody's here, and a lot of times you don't know who it is.
Also, did that? How did that make you feel as being there performing?
It was fine. I remember I remember one time years ago, I was on the eastern shore of Maryland, and we had this thing, and there was a guy standing next to me. And so I was just like kidding around with him. I didn't realize it was Secret Service at first. It was just some guy standing there. And I said, "What, are you just like hanging around here hoping to get some weed from the musicians?" And something stupid like that came out.
Right? No, I totally get it.
and 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 then I start looking around, and then I notice this guy's Secret Service, and it's like, never mind what I just said, but
Listen, I don't care if you're Secret Service or not. Just if I question why you standing next to me, if I'm questioning it, you're too close. Back up.
yeah. So yeah, you get a lot of that in the DC area. You play for a lot of times you don't even know who's there.
Who you're playing with? You just get a thing. Show up this time. Here's your pay. Don't be late.
Hmm. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing a lot now. Unfortunately,
Which do you like better, performing out live at venues or this type of work?
performing my own stuff live. So this other stuff, I'm good at it, but I'm just reading stuff off the page. Now, I will say 90% of what I do as a string player now, we hardly ever play classical anymore. We
That's cool.
The cool thing is like we just playing rock. So I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of arrangements for string quartet, duo, trio of rock, pop, and jazz tunes. Everything from Elvis and the Beatles all the way up to like
Even Sound of Silence.
Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift, and
Yeah, oh yeah.
and people love it. So
And it's there's
they
just something
come in,
special.
they see a string quartet, and they think they're going to get Mozart, and then they like. You know, so
Y'all, listen, I can tell y'all if you're having a bad day, go play some of Fred's stuff. Go spin him. Cause you just see me, I'm just bebopping like. Because there's nothing cooler that when you see strings and then all of a sudden they come out with something that's not classical, that's always a crowd shocker.
right.
But
Oh, we
also, it sounds much more. I like it when people aren't afraid to do that. When do like what you do with the Sound of Silence, put your own spin on it from the cello perspective. It's actually refreshing, and it
okay.
also get people want to go listen to the other people too. So I mean,
Right. Yeah. Well, that one. I'm glad you brought that out. That one was tricky because I didn't realize this till I started working at it. And what happened is like there's millions of songs out there, but it was like that song popped in my head and I could hear it being played on cello. It's like, okay. And I started working on it. But here's the thing that you don't realize till you start working on it. That song doesn't have a chorus, it doesn't have a bridge. There are 5 verses that are completely identical. There's no difference.
Nope.
So me being an improviser, the first verse I did normal, but then I started improvising on it, and of course I write all that down so it becomes, in classical music you would call it like a theme and variations, and then in the fifth verse I work it back to just the melody again. But with that one, I had to be really careful. I couldn't just like start blowing, because it's almost like a sacred piece to a lot of people. I needed to keep it within that framework. So I didn't want to go too far afield. So that one was a little tricky with that.
Yeah, because certain ones, it's kind of like when I think about even things that I would cover vocally, I'm kind of like, no, I'm not going to do that one. Pass on that one because no, I totally
Yeah.
get it.
One basic rule is you don't want to cover anything that Aretha did.
No, and that's a fun fact is because I've been suggested that I should do some Aretha, and I'm kind of looking at you like you crazy. I like want to tell the people seriously. I want to look anybody that listen, not that because I love some Aretha, I love some Patty, I love some all the way back like even Billie Holiday. But people who are suggesting that I try to. No, I will not ever be covering them because for my reason, when they sing, they put so much themselves into it. There's nothing more creatively I can do to that song to even cover it. So yeah, I'll put it out there. Make sure you guys keep go spinning these great people, things like that. But to cover somebody like that, I will not.
One of my favorite videos ever, not videos, but something on YouTube, is like it's Aretha Franklin. It was like the Kennedy Center honors and Carole King was one of the ones being honored, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Obama White House. So Carole King sitting up there next to Barack and Michelle Obama, right? And there's other people up there. And Aretha comes out. And she comes out and everybody's clapping. And she sits at the piano and Carole King's going nuts. It's like, oh God, she's going to play piano. Because a lot of people know Aretha can play piano.
Oh, yeah.
And, she starts singing Natural Woman that Carole King wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Barack starts crying. And it's like,
so I'm saying there's just some people that
it's like
you can't. It's kind of like
I've seen that video, but it's just Google like Aretha Kennedy Center honors Natural Woman or whatever you have to do. But it's an amazing performance because Aretha's at the tail end of her career, and man, her voice was just on that day.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect, So Aretha. All right, so should I wrap this up or
if you want to, we can. I mean, it's totally up to you. Is there anything else you want people to know?
No, not really. I think we've covered it. It's like I'm working on a website now with some help of a couple people.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you even I need help with mine because that just it takes special people.
Yeah, it's rocket science to me. I'm the wrong generation.
My eyeball just don't cooperate with the things, so it's like some things I'm spot on with, some things it's like I need help with, but
Here's the cool thing. Like one of my cello students is a middle school girl, Asian Indian. And I was telling her at the end of one of the lessons how I'm trying to get a website together and it's really hard. I was just making conversation. And she just said, I'll do it. And it's like, are you sure?
Hey, I'm telling you, these young kids like that are probably our best asset with some things.
this is my tech support as a middle school girl is going to help me do my website. And of course, the first thing I did was text her parents.
Yeah, to make sure it's okay, which I
Yeah.
totally get and respect. But no, seriously, with these younger kids like that, if they are willing to help and their parents are on board, I see nothing wrong with it because they know more.
They know what they're doing.
Right, because like me growing up, I was born in '78. So when all this stuff was coming out and things like that, I never had a computer in the home. I actually got to listen to stuff on my stepdad's reel to reel, but he was also one of the from the 1940 generation.
Right.
So I got to experience reel to reel 8-track tape. Because in fact, my first stereo was at the age of 6 was an old 8-track player.
All right. Well, see, I'm 1956. So let me tell you what I remember.
You're the
And this,
same age as my mom.
this is where I sound like grandpa. I remember black and white TV with only 4 stations.
Guys, also too, did you have cool grandparents that had the phonograph things that you can listen when you was a kid?
Mm-mm.
I did. One of my grandparents, I don't remember which one it was, but they had one. It was the coolest thing to listen to stuff on phonograph, the reel to reel, the 8-track, and then the cassette came out, and then the CDs, and then now we got streaming.
Right. But I had, so that's what I remember with TV. And of course, no, there's no remotes. That's right.
No, you were the remote.
I remember before there were interstates because my mom was from Alabama. So we would take US 29 down into Alabama, which is, now that pretty much goes like 85, Interstate 85, that kind of stuff. But so I remember for interstates. I remember before seat belts and air conditioning in cars.
Oh, so you didn't brought home in a car seat either then?
Mm-mm,
I
mm-mm.
wasn't either.
Here's a cool thing. I'm so old. I remember when I Want to Hold Your Hand came out and I first heard it on AM radio. And
That must have been. So how was that experiencing that?
it was cool. It was like, that's what I was saying. That was the neat thing about being in that era is like music was just exploding. And that's what I was responding to was like the music was just like captivating me. It was
Yeah.
so, and I think the reason it was so good back then, it wasn't formulaic. And so think about it. You had bands back then that were something like Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So you could tell these kids had been listening to their parents' records. So you were getting jazz influences, you were getting the early R&B influences, you were getting stuff in there that now it's just not there too much anymore.
It's really not, but I had the fortunate enough that like I said, my stepdad was born in '40 and my mom was born in '56. She was more into Frankie Valli and things like that, and then he was more into the country bands like Kitty Wells and Boxcar Willie. And then I had my stepbrother who was introduced me to Ozzy, and then I had older stepsisters that were. One of them listened to like the Celine Dion kind of contemporary, and the other one listened to like the Bon Jovi and Poisons and things like that. And then my little sister was into rap and reggae. So I'm all over the place. And then my dad, he used to play blues guitar, not professionally because he never gave himself enough credit, I should say. But that man could make Bon Jovi blues for me on the guitar. So I grew up with all kinds of, because even day to day, if you go through what I play and you follow my stories, that's when I play my music from Apple and I'm just listening. If I remember to, so people can keep on like who I'm interested in listening to, just follow my stories because every song that I post in there, I like that song or that band for one or more many reasons you don't know, but they're but my musical influences are like all over the place.
Well, my dad was the main one who played music in the house, and he was into classical. And the other thing, him, my dad was raised Orthodox Jew in New York City. My mom was from small town Southern Baptist Alabama, so I tell people I was raised on gefilte fish and grits. But
I totally get it.
yeah, but my dad being Jewish, a really big part of the culture then was musicals.
Hmm.
So I was raised on classical music and musicals. I mean,
What
to
is
me,
your favorite musical?
I don't have a favorite musical, babe.
No, well, I like them all because I really like Grease. I like The West Side Story, Fiddler on the Roof. Probably several others that I can't think of because now I just put myself in a highway conjunction on my brain. Uh,
Yeah, I that's what I was raised on. My first concert ever contemporary concert that they took us to was an outdoor concert in DC at an amphitheater it's still available, but we went to see Peter, Paul, and Mary.
oh, that
And,
must have been quite a treat.
yeah, and the opening act was an unknown singer songwriter from Canada, Gordon Lightfoot.
No way. Seriously?
That was the first contemporary concert I ever saw. And
Wow.
and I
I'm sorry. I wish I could have been there to see that because that would have been something.
yeah, and what I remember from it, and I need to close up because I got to get.
Okay, no, I know you guys shoot
But
us this stuff.
with this, what I remember, so I I'm in elementary school, so I'm about 8 years old, and I got up out of my seat. Nobody stopped me. We were sitting maybe about 12 rows back, and I got up out of my seat and went down the right aisle as I'm facing the stage, and walked up about 4 stairs, 5 stairs, concrete stairs, and leaned on the stage. And nobody stopped me, no security. My parents didn't grab me. And this is what I remember Peter, Paul, and Mary, they had an upright bass player. And the whole time, that's what my focus was the bass player, just like, doing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I know I'm not playing bass, I play cello, but it's close. And
Yes.
I was just fixated on the bass player. I mean, nothing else to me was even going on. You know,
That's awesome.
yeah,
But just to
uh,
think to see them in concert, like, wow.
yeah, yeah. That was a cool thing. Anyway, I got to go. Thank you. Much love to
Yes,
you.
and thank you. Give Freya scratches for me too.
Oh God, she's been here the whole time.
Oh, happy too. He was coming over trying to say hi, but I can't pick him up because he weighs like 100 pounds.
Yeah, yeah. Freya's
So
on the couch right now.
okay, so we want to wish I'm tongue tied here. Wish peace, love, and respect to everybody. And Blazy and Fred out, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye, guys.